The paintwork, like in the vast majority of modern cars, for the sake of environmental conservation, is water-based and poorly resists scratches and chips. Traditionally, the sidewalls, the edges of the roof, and the hood are most susceptible to damage. Some owners of the Kia Sorento Prime also note such a nuisance as swelling and peeling of the paintwork under the influence of reagents. There are also complaints about the corrosion resistance of the body. There is no talk of serious pockets of rust yet, but given that the chips begin to bloom after a couple of months, there is reason to believe that their appearance is inevitable in the future. On cars older than 3 years, red spots can be found on the fenders, trunk lid, and in the front of the roof, which spread along the entire edge over the years. Much more problems can occur in cars restored after an accident. But the bottom of the car, largely due to the high ground clearance, has not yet suffered from a red disease. Among the problem areas of body equipment, it is necessary to highlight the tendency to fogging of the front optics and the unsuccessful design of the fastening of the headlight unit. They are often damaged when hitting the bumper. It is worth noting that if there are cracks on the mount or bumper, the service will refuse to replace the headlights under warranty. For cars with a panoramic roof, the sunroof drive can deliver trouble. If during operation it is not periodically serviced, requires cleaning and lubrication once a year, early repair is inevitable, replacement of the motor and sliders. In cars of the first years of production, the elimination of the outer handles of the front doors quickly failed. To eliminate the disease, it is necessary to change the handle. Fortunately, the dealers did it under warranty. Another disadvantage is the short service life of chrome parts, the radiator grille, and other decorative elements. They become cloudy, chrome peels off. Their operational shortcomings are worth highlighting: the unsuccessful aerodynamics of the body. In the rain or when washing the glass, water from the windshield flows onto the door windows. 3 powertrains are available for the choice of Kia Sorento Prime buyers: gasoline 2.4 MPI, G4 Key 188 HP, V6 3.3, G6DF, G6DB 250 HP, and 3.5, G6DC 249 HP, and 2.0 diesels 184 HP, 2.2, D4 HP 200 HP. The stock gasoline engine is well known to fans of the Korean brands Hyundai and Kia, with problems with scuffing of 3/4 cylinders and cranking of the liners. Now you should not be afraid of this engine, since the manufacturer has made changes to the design of the internal combustion engine and the problem has become less relevant. However, the risk of detecting scuffing in the cylinders is quite high, since the catalyst is still located close to the engine and, if destroyed, can dust into the cylinders. On domestic gasoline, a ceramic converter, as a rule, begins to break down after 50,000 kilometers of run. Since replacing the part is expensive, a flame arrestor is installed instead. The disadvantages of internal combustion engines include increased noise, vibration load, the tendency of the throttle to coke. When polluted, the revolutions of the 20th float, a small resource of ignition coils, and a phase regulator. If the catalyst is replaced in a timely manner, the engine will last 350–400,000 kilometers. V6 motors are representatives of the Lambda family. The main disadvantage of these engines is the tendency to coking of the piston rings, which leads to a progressive oil burn. If the problem that has arisen is not noticed in a timely manner, the liners can turn due to a decrease in the oil level. In order to restrain the oil appetite of the unit within reasonable limits, it is necessary to periodically decarbonize the piston. As in the stock engine, the time bomb is the catalysts, of which there are 2. The process of adjusting the thermal clearances of the valves, carried out every 100,000 kilometers, is also costly. There are 24 valves in the motor. The 3.5 engine experiences oil starvation in the first seconds after starting, which negatively affects the resource of some parts. So far, only one solution to the problem is known: the installation of an additional pre-supply pump to help provide oil to the top of the engine. Diesel strange as it may sound, but the diesel Kia Sorento Prime is the best option when buying a used copy. If you follow the unit and feed it with good diesel fuel up to 200,000 kilometers, there are practically no problems with it. Among the shortcomings of the D4 series engines, one can note the capriciousness of the piezoelectric injectors. They clog and the internal combustion engine starts to triple, and an increase in oil consumption with an aggressive driving style, up to 0.5 liters per 1,000 kilometers. When saving on lubricants, the oil channel of the timing chain hydraulic tensioner is quickly clogged, treated by cleaning. Symptoms: knocking and other noise in the timing chain area. Jerks and dips in traction during acceleration are usually caused by severe contamination of the fuel or diesel particulate filter. Experienced servicemen recommend turning off the EGR valve by software, as recirculated soot quickly pollutes the startup and combustion chamber with a thick layer of soot. Closer to 200,000 kilometers, the injection pump should be replaced preventively because when it breaks, it drives chips that clog the fuel system. The declared resource of the units is 250,000 kilometers, but in practice, they nurse much more, about 400,000 kilometers. Among the shortcomings of the 6-speed automatic is a weak torque converter clutch, which wears out intensively with an aggressive driving style. It is also worth highlighting the tendency to corrosion of the gearbox, differential, and spline connection in the area of the support of the right front drive shaft. In addition, prolonged slippage should be avoided, as this can damage the splines of the differential housing. In addition, the gearbox is equipped with a fragile plastic oil pan, which is often damaged when driving off-road. A common phenomenon is the failure of speed sensors, the failure of which is caused by overheating of the box. On cars in which the oil has never been changed up to 100,000 kilometers, the valve body fails quite early. With an active driving style, after 100,000 kilometers, the pump seal begins to flow. At an early stage, the disease is eliminated by inexpensive repairs with the replacement of torque converter consumables. If there are kicks during switching, first of all check the oil level, since most often the reason is its decrease. Automatic transmission resource, 250,000 kilometers. An 8-speed automatic appeared relatively recently, and it is too early to talk about its reliability, since most of the copies have not yet traveled 100,000 kilometers. All-wheel drive in the Kia Sorento 3 is connected with the possibility of forced locking of the clutch. The rear axle is connected using the Dynamax electro-hydraulic clutch, which is familiar to fans of the model from the previous generation of cars. The main ailment of the all-wheel drive system is corrosion and wear of the spline joints of the bevel gear, which leads to leakage of lubricant. In order to protect yourself from high costs, prevention of the disease is required, stuffing fresh grease in the gearbox cavity every 30–40,000 kilometers. Also, the owners install additional seals designed to protect the spline connection of the transfer case from moisture and dirt. In the risk zone is also the clutch for connecting the rear axle, in which, with a sharp exit from ice, sand, to asphalt, there is a risk of tearing the clutch baskets from the shaft. The breakdown signal is a thud from behind, while the system does not generate any errors. To solve the problem, you will have to change the clutch, which is very expensive, or look for a service where they can restore the assembly, but there are no guarantees that the problem will not happen again. Of the operational shortcomings, one can single out excessive protection of the Dynamax clutch from overheating. Even after minor slippage, the electronics turn off the clutch, which causes problems with overcoming snowy, sandy sections of the road. On both axles of the Kia Sorento Prime, independent suspension is used with MacPherson struts in front and a multi-link with double lower wishbones at the rear. The chassis is simple and unpretentious, however, and it has a couple of weak points. The main miscalculation is the use of weak rear shock absorbers, which often need to be replaced after 50,000 kilometers flow. On pre-styling versions, ball bearings also had a short service life. But the stabilizer consumables, under moderate loads, can last up to 100,000 kilometers. Front shock absorbers and wheel bearings average about 120,000 kilometers. Silent blocks of the front and rear levers can withstand up to 150,000 kilometers. Of the minuses, it is necessary to highlight the need for frequent adjustment of the wheel angles, camber. The steering system uses a rack and pinion mechanism with electric power steering. The steering rack, by modern standards, has a good margin of safety. It starts knocking closer to 150,000 kilometers. But the steering column often makes itself felt in the first 100,000 kilometers. Symptoms: turning the steering wheel is accompanied by a rustling that can be heard in the cabin. The exact cause of this ailment is still unknown, since when contacting a dealer, the steering column is changed under warranty. The main drawback of the brake system is the use of small brake discs, which causes the brakes to overheat quickly. It is not uncommon for the disc to drive after overheating, resulting in wobble when braking. The interior of the Kia Sorento 3 Prime looks good, but the quality of the finish of some interior elements is frankly lame. So, for example, scuffs and cracks appear on the leather of the steering wheel braid and the sidewalls of the front seats after 50,000 kilometers. On some copies on the driver's seat, the seams of the seat cushion do not withstand, diverge. In cars with an air conditioning system in the third row of seats, the rear circuit tube, located in the area of the right rear wheel, begins to corrode over the years, and if the problem is not corrected in a timely manner, it can rot through. Another disadvantage is poor sound insulation, especially in the front arches, and the lack of additional hooks, niches, cargo securing systems in the trunk. As for the car's electronics, the main complaints of the owners are caused by the low accuracy of the light, rain, and parking sensors. Many of the disadvantages include the lack of a rear-view camera washer. But you should not expect significant breakdowns, since the car is still quite fresh. The only thing that can spoil your nerves is a multimedia system in which some functions stop working over time. A complete failure of the system is also possible. It does not turn on. The board fails, after which you have to change the GU 200-400S. After 3-5 years, the air conditioner tubes oxidize and begin to let Freon through. Rarely, but still, there are cases of failure of the driver's door keyless access button. Replacement of the handle is required. Despite the presence of a considerable number of shortcomings, the used Kia Sorento 3 Prime is definitely worthy of attention, since most of its nodes have a high level of reliability. Before buying the car in the secondary market, be sure to check the condition of the transfer case and the all-wheel drive clutch. A bad signal is the presence of dirt on the subframe. You should also not delay with the elimination of chips, and if possible, cover problem areas with vinyl film. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.